Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 6775 Southeast Doncaster Drive here in Gladstone. Located up on the roof, going down through the main roof vent. I'm sitting here eyeballing this thing and it's hard to tell if it's 3-inch or 4-inch. I'm just clearing some cobwebs out of the vent here really quick, but we're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out the foot counter down at the bottom of the vent. Anyway, the size of this vent pipe, it doesn't look quite big enough to be 4-inch, but it also looks too big to be 3-inch. And they did make a kind of oddity size for a little while, 3.5-inch cast iron. I'm going to call it 4-inch. 3-inch is pretty obvious when just doesn't look like 3-inch pipe. It's too big. All right, we're going to zero out here. Off we go. The diameter there almost it might be 3.5-inch. It's really hard to tell. It almost looked like the diameter just opened up there a little bit. I think we're gonna have a little bit of standing water to that little section we just went through there, but it's gonna be very minor. I've got 2 different fixtures running full bore right now, so you're probably gonna have maybe 1/16 to 1/4 inch of standing water left over, which is very, very minor. All that stringy stuff at the top of the pipe there, that's just cobwebs. Those are not roots there, or anything like that. This is one of these kind of cool, rare parts of town. I believe we are on the outside of the house at this point. We might still be inside. Gladstone and Milwaukee both. It's very common they ran cast iron all the way to the street curb. So right here we're transitioning over to concrete pipe. That appears to be 4-inch there. If we just did a lot of meandering through the house though, we might be just getting onto the outside of the home. There's a lot of houses out here, and that's a good thing generally speaking. Cast iron, if you're going to have old pipe products, cast iron generally speaking is the stuff you want to have. Holds up quite nicely over time. Has very strong pipe joints and resists root intrusions very effectively. In fact, better so than most modern plastic piping. So the pipe joints are very strong. All right, yeah, it looks like, just based on that there, I think you have a fair amount of cast iron on the outside, but we'll see. I'm not sure which direction we exited the house. That will kind of dictate that. And certainly a functioning sewer line. Very clean line. There is like 0 buildup in there to speak of. We'll get a better view of the condition of the sewer line when we pull the camera back out, but just from a purely flow standpoint, the line absolutely has adequate to good flow all the way to the main lateral. But we'll get a better view of condition here in just a second when the line's drained out. Alright, located the camera head successfully. The line goes out and terminates on Devonshire, so the side street to the left of the house. That's as you look at the home from the road, facing the front of it anyway, from the road. I saw a tie-in on the way out that I think might be the clean-out. Could also be storm. It's such a finished basement, I'm not sure if it has a exposed clean-out at this point in time or not. And so on these older lines like this, where you've got an original concrete and cast iron line, with the advent of epoxy liners, and especially, I want to say that in Gladstone, every city's a little bit different. I believe the homeowner here is responsible all the way to the main. It behooves you these days with the advent of trenchless epoxy liners to keep an eye on these old lines. This thing is held up beautifully. It is spotless clean, functions great. And if you want to take advantage of the fact that it has still good slope and grade, if this is a home you're going to be in a long time, You want to rescope periodically to keep an eye on things. The concrete pipe, generally speaking, is the stuff that will wear out first, especially the pipe joints. So when you get to a point where the joints start to, eventually the grout will wear out in the joints, and they will often start to allow groundwater to seep in. Once that starts happening, you're often kind of on a ticking time, and it's very difficult to predict. Some lines can suck groundwater and dirt through them, or water anyway, for a very long time without shifting or settling, but it often can lead to progressive settling. And you just don't want that to progress to a point where you lose the ability to do a trenchless epoxy liner on it. That little stringy thing right there is a tampon. That's not a root. Do not want to put those down your line, especially an old cast iron. They hang up quite easily, and I mean that goes for paper towels, flushable wipes, any of that stuff. Keep it to folded toilet paper. That rougher texture on the inside does not love improper items. And if you have little ones in the house, I'm not trying to freak out. Cast iron's a very solid pipe product, but that little bit rougher texture is just not as forgiving as it is in plastic. I could have swore on the way out there I saw a Y come into the top of the sewer line. This might be one of these old basement houses where a lot of them only have a clean out in the, oh, there we go. There, it's at the top of the pipe right there. So that's about the only thing I could even call something that reminisces a clean out. I'm going to see if I can go locate it. Alrighty, you do indeed have a clean out. It's under the carpet downstairs. So if you're, again, facing the front of the house from Doncaster, front leftmost bedroom, if you're facing that closet in there, the clean out sits in front of the, there you've got about a 1 foot or so wide piece of wall to the left of the frame of the closet door. The clean out sits in front of that little tiny piece of wall there. It's probably about a foot and a half away from the left side foundation wall, and about a foot or so out from that little left side wall for the closet door frame. You'll feel the clean out underneath the flooring there. You can feel the square head cap. It's a flush set cap, so you have to feel around carefully for it, but it's there. If you pull that little corner up of carpet that butts right up against that left side wall there to the left of the closet door frame, you'll feel it, and you'll see it if you pull the carpet up. Very nice looking old sewer line there. Good flow all the way to the main. All the pipe we just scoped there is intact. Drains out very nicely. There's essentially zero standing water once you drain the line out. The only reason we had any in there at all is because we had so much water running, and it'll exaggerate, I mean, even a 32nd of an inch. I don't write stuff like that up. It's way too minor to even talk about. Great looking old sewer line, functioning properly at this time. I would rescope that every 2 to 3 years to keep an eye on things. That way you can pick and choose the right time to update it. And that's looking down the road. This is not going to be tomorrow, but if it's a home you're going to be in for a long time, it's a very good idea to do so. Those liners save you boatloads of money when you can avoid having to tear a street open. Not to mention going hacking through a yard with a bunch of very mature trees and root systems that you run the risk of killing off. So do it about every 2 to 3 years. Once you start seeing the joints start to allow moisture through, that's when you want to start looking and budgeting for a liner on this thing. Anyway, great looking line. It's an oldie but a goodie. Sewer line is functioning properly at this time.